Hello and welcome to this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's have a look at the headlines first. The Prime Minister unveils bold new security doctrine. US President signed executive order to implement access to Most-Favoured Nation price for pharmaceutical products. Government allocates additional rice from FCI buffer stock for ethanol production. India assumed the role of a country champion at the World Bank Land Conference 2025. For the first time, a study estimates the scale of global river contamination from human antibiotic use. In the wake of a decisive victory, Operation Sindoor, that neutralized over 100 terrorists, including key commanders and long-time strategists of violence against India, the Prime Minister has unveiled a bold new security doctrine, one that reshapes the very foundation of India's defense posture. Let's break it down. First pillar is decisive retaliation. The message is clear. Any terrorist attack on India will be met with a strong and resolute response. India will retaliate on its own terms, directly targeting the roots of terror infrastructure. This marks a strategic shift. Military retaliation is now formalized in India's anti-terror doctrine, signaling a stronger and more decisive response than ever before. The second pillar is no tolerance for nuclear blackmail. India declares nuclear threats will no longer intimidate us. Any terrorist safe haven using this pretext will face precise and decisive strikes. It clearly states that nuclear threats won't deter India's right to self-defense, a sharp shift from past restraint, signaling readiness for decisive action despite strategic risks. The third pillar: no distinction between terror sponsors and terrorists. India will now treat terrorist leaders and the governments that shelter them as one and the same. Earlier, India reiterated that any future terrorist attack will be considered an act of war, marking a significant elevation in India's response framework. This doctrine aims to dismantle state-sponsored terrorism, a threat not just to India but to global peace and security. From Operation Sindoor to this new doctrine, India has drawn the red lines. The age of ambiguity is over, and the message to the world is unmistakable. Terror will be met with power, without exception, without hesitation.
Now we will focus on a significant development from the United States. An executive order signed by the US President aiming to implement access to Most-Favored Nation or MFN pricing for pharmaceutical products. But what does this mean and why is it important? Let's break it down. This executive order is designed to lower the prices of prescription drugs in the United States, where at present Americans pay around 3 times more for the same drugs compared to other high-income nations. Now, let's first understand what MFN really means. The Most Favored Nation principle is a fundamental concept of the multilateral trading system, which seeks to implement rules-based framework where trading rights do not depend on individual participants' economic or political clout. It ensures that best access conditions given to one country must automatically extend to all other participants. Under Article 1 of the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade or GATT 1994, every member country of the World Trade Organization or WTO must accord MFN status to all other member countries. Simply put, countries following MFN status cannot discriminate among their trading partners. But how does this executive order impact India, especially its pharmaceutical sector? Well, the potential impact is significant. First, let's talk about exports. The United States is a critical market for India's pharmaceutical sector, accounting for nearly 1/3 of India's pharma exports, amounting to around $10 billion annually. This executive order could disproportionately affect India's trade in this sector. Second, the impact on research cannot be ignored. Lower prices in the US would reduce the profits of pharmaceutical companies and, consequently, the funds available for research on new medicines. Third, we might see increased prices in the domestic market. As companies try to compensate for reduced profits in the US, they may seek higher prices in other markets, including India. So, this executive order could have far-reaching implications, not just for the US, but also for countries like India with significant pharmaceutical exports.
In a significant move, the government has allocated additional rice from the FCI buffer stock for ethanol production. Under the Ethanol Blended Petrol or EBP program, an additional 2.8 million tons of rice is to be provided at subsidized rates, aimed at reducing excess stockpiles of Food Corporation of India or FCI. Now, what is the significance of this allocation? Firstly, energy security. Ethanol, being a renewable, sustainable fuel, will help reduce dependence on imported fossil fuels. Secondly, it ensures the optimal utilization of excess buffer stocks. FCI has projected the economic cost of rice, including minimum support price or MSP, storage, transportation, etc., at Rs 4,173 per quintal for 2025-26. Currently, FCI holds 61 million tons or MT of rice, while the buffer requirement is only 13.58 MT. Third, it has economic benefits. It promotes the Make in India initiative, contributes to doubling farmers' incomes, and supports employment generation. But this development also brings some challenges regarding ethanol production from food staples. The major issue is food security versus energy security. Using food staples like sugarcane, corn, and rice for ethanol production threatens food and livestock feed security due to the threat of over-diversion. In fact, rice, sugarcane, and maize form the backbone of India's food and livestock feed systems. Yet all three are being used as feedstocks for ethanol. Next is inflation. The increased demand of food crops for ethanol production can increase prices for consumers and may result in reduced availability. Now, a quick look at ethanol itself. It is a primary biofuel, naturally produced through the fermentation of sugars by yeast or through petrochemical processes like ethylene hydration. Its uses include as a biofuel, blended ethanol, a chemical solvent in industries, and for medical use as an antiseptic and disinfectant. Let's also revisit the EBP program. Its objective is the blending of ethanol in petrol, with multiple goals including reduced import dependence and savings in foreign exchange. Its target, 20% ethanol blending by 2025-26. And the progress, a significant rise from 1.53% in 2014 to 15% in 2024. As India moves ahead with ethanol blending, this decision ties together food, fuel, and the future, with every grain counted in both strategy and sustainability. In a landmark moment for India's land governance vision, India has assumed the role of a country champion at the World Bank Land Conference 2025. During the conference, the world's spotlight was firmly on India's flagship land management initiatives, Swamitwa scheme and the Gram Manchitra platform, both hailed as models of inclusive, technology-driven rural governance. Let's begin with Swamitwa. With 68,000 square kilometers surveyed and Rs 1.16 trillion worth of land monetized, Swamitwa emerged as a scalable model for inclusive economic transformation at the global level. It aims at establishing clear ownership of property in rural areas by mapping land parcels using drone technology. Shifting focus to Gram Manchitra, its role in promoting climate resilience, infrastructure planning, and convergence of schemes drew global appreciation for its applicability in Global South context. This geospatial planning platform empowers Gram Panchayats to prepare data-driven, localized development plans. Now, let's look at how efficient land management systems directly contribute to economic growth. First, jobs and growth. Streamlined access to property facilitates entrepreneurship, expansion, wealth reinvestment, and alternate livelihoods. Second, private capital. Registered property rights give landowners collateral access, boosting private credit and investment opportunities. Third, infrastructure funding. These systems generate stable government revenue for essential public services and infrastructure. Yet, a reality check. Land and property taxes generate only 0.6% of GDP in low-income countries, compared to 2.2% in industrialized nations. Next, urban management. These systems help cities plan growth, protect public spaces, identify development opportunities, and manage disaster risks. And finally, food security. Improving women's access to land can increase agricultural outputs by 4%. As India leads from the front, this moment isn't just about land, it's about legacy, livelihoods, and lifting economies one parcel at a time.
Moving on, we will dive into a concerning global issue: antibiotic pollution in our river systems. For the first time, a comprehensive study has estimated the scale of this problem, and the findings are alarming. So, what is the scale of this crisis? Well, the study has calculated that nearly 8,500 tons of antibiotics, that's almost one-third of the antibiotics consumed by people worldwide every year, end up in river systems. Even more worrying, 11% of these antibiotics make their way to the world's oceans or inland sinks. But how exactly do these antibiotics end up in our rivers? The study identifies several pathways. First, incomplete metabolism in the human body and inefficient removal in wastewater systems. Second, extensive use of antibiotics in animal husbandry and aquaculture. Third, losses during pharmaceutical manufacturing. And finally, climate change, which not only promotes bacterial growth but also enhances horizontal gene transfer, increasing the chances of developing antibiotic resistance. Now, let's talk about the key findings of this study. 10% of the global population is exposed to the top 1% of surface waters with the highest cumulative concentrations of antibiotics. The biggest contributor to antibiotic emissions in river is untreated domestic wastewater. Shockingly, only 43% of the antibiotic load from domestic sources is processed in wastewater systems. A staggering 6 million kilometers of rivers, that 25% of all rivers worldwide, exceed the threshold of high-risk antibiotic pollution. And when it comes to India, more than 80% of its rivers are categorized under high or very high risk. The main culprits in this pollution are three antibiotics: amoxicillin, ceftriaxone, and cefixime. But why should this matter to you? The impact of antibiotic pollution is twofold. On human health, it accelerates antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, a serious threat that the World Health Organization warns could become the leading cause of global deaths by 2050. And on the environment, it reduces microbial diversity and harms the health of aquatic life like fish and algae. Now you might be wondering, are there any efforts to tackle this crisis? Yes, there are. In India, the National Action Plan on AMR, launched in 2017, focuses on improving regulations, education, and surveillance. On a global scale, the World Health Organization's Global Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance, introduced in 2015, sets the direction. The WHO has also provided specific guidance on tackling antibiotic pollution from pharmaceutical manufacturing. So, while this study has highlighted a serious problem, it has also brought to light the urgent need for action, from better wastewater management to stricter regulations in pharmaceutical manufacturing.
In today's Place in News, we turn our focus to Maldives with its capital, Male. In a key diplomatic gesture, India has extended financial support to the Maldives by rolling over $50 million in treasury bills for another year. Let's take a quick look at the Maldives. It is a small island nation in the Indian Ocean, made up of atolls consisting of coral islands. Strategically located along major sea lanes, it is the smallest Asian country. It lies to the south-southwest of India, and it is separated from India, Lakshadweep, by the 8th degree channel. Geographically, Maldives experiences a hot, humid tropical climate, with a dry northeast monsoon from November to March and a rainy southwest monsoon from June to August. It is also home to the world's 7th largest coral reef system, accounting for 3.14% of the global reef area. Notably, the Maldives has no rivers or streams.
As we conclude today's main news, let's have a look at some quick updates. According to Sample Registration System or SRS Report 2021 released by Registrar General of India, total fertility rate or TFR remains constant at 2.0 in 2021. TFR is the average number of children a woman would have at the end of their reproductive period. Chinese researchers have developed a high-resolution ocean simulation system named LICOMK++ that offers enhanced capabilities for modeling ocean dynamics and climate patterns. LICOMK++ is being hailed as an ocean microscope owing to its ultra-high-resolution capabilities. The Telangana Chief Minister, along with several others, has donated to the NDF as a gesture of solidarity with the armed forces. National Defence Fund or NDF was established in 1962. India engages China over germanium export cups embassy. Germanium is a silvery white semi-metal metalloid. It has properties of both metals and non-metals. The Central Consumer Protection Authority or CCPA has served notices to various online platforms over using dark patterns like basket sneaking and confirm shaming. Dark patterns are deceptive design techniques that manipulate user interfaces to trick people into making unintended choices, undermining their autonomy and violating consumer rights. The Cosmos 482 lander probe re-entered Earth's atmosphere and splashed into Indian Ocean. Cosmos 482 was part of Soviet Union's Venera program, which sent a fleet of probes to Venus. The Indian Armed Forces intercepted and neutralized a range of high-tech foreign weapons of Pakistan, including PL-15 missile and Baika YIHA-3 kamikaze drones. PL-15 is a Chinese-origin air-to-air missile employing active radar guidance, satellite and inertial navigation system. Scientists report transmutation of lead into gold in CERN's Large Hadron Collider, albeit for only a fraction of a second. CERN's LHC revealed the creation of some 86 billion gold nuclei, all from smashing together lead atoms at 99.99% the speed of light.
Before we sign off, let's challenge your understanding in today's installment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you found this episode of News Today engaging. For the solutions to the quiz and to access the PDF version of News Today, remember to visit the provided links in the description.